young coach.
Absolutely. Official of the year.
Yeah, my official of the year, MJ Wagonson. She's from southeast Minnesota. She does multiple sports. I wrote about MJ. She was going from one softball game to another softball game, got T-boned on the highway, totaled her car, got her right on the tow truck to the softball game that she didn't miss after her car was totaled. She
Good Lord.
had some minor injuries, some burns on her hands from the airbags, and she sent me the pictures of her car. But it was really something, and a great official, a great representative of all officials, and pretty tough as it turns out.
Hall of Famer.
Yeah, we had a National Hall of Famer this year in July, I think it was, or late June. Kerry Tollefson was inducted into the National High School Hall of Fame during the National Federation Convention. This was in Chicago this summer. And if you don't know who Kerry is, holy mackerel, Google Kerry Tollefson. 5-time state cross-country champ, the only runner in Minnesota to do that, multiple state track titles for Dawson Boyd, an NCAA champ at Villanova, an Olympian, just a great representative of Minnesota on the national stage. That's our latest. I think she's the 13th or 14th Minnesotan in the National High School Hall of Fame, and just a great representation of Minnesota.
Well, I've met two of the three people you just awarded, and I have been very impressed with both of them. And of course, I met Carrie back when I think she was, still a young runner, and
right.
Just one of the nicest people you'll ever meet.
Absolutely.
Trophies, fields, and a special.
Yeah, well, I want to wrap it up here. These are football related. The things that happened this fall, there were some really special things. I didn't really have much expectations when I asked people on Twitter and Facebook, tell me about the trophies your football teams play for, because every team has a couple of trophy games a year, it seems. And that just turned into this great deal. Lots of photos on Facebook. If you go to MSHSL on Facebook and scroll down a bit to later in the fall, you'll see just tons of photos and descriptions of some of these trophies. That one was really, really fun to do. There's some quirky things out there. And but the story kind of sprang from a football game in Bemidji that I was at, Brainerd versus Bemidji, and they had a new traveling trophy, Babe's Bell. It's a giant cowbell to go with Paul and Babe the Blue Ox. And if you go to that MSHSL Facebook page, the cover photo is the Bemidji football team with the giant cowbell standing in front of Paul and Babe after they beat Brainerd in the first game with this new traveling trophy. And another really fun story. I kind of clicked off my 20 favorite football fields. I didn't go, number 20 down to number 1. I categorized them. And there are great ones like the Farmington Field, which is kind of space age. And then you go up to International Falls, where the grandstand was a WPA project in the 30s and 40s. Just a lot of great history there. And then the last thing I'll mention here, Jim, late in the football season, I saw a playoff game down at Waterville. The St. Clair Mankato Loyola team lost in the playoffs to Waterville, Elysian Morristown. And the headline on the story I wrote was Spartans for Life. This was a first-year co-op. Neither St. Clair nor Mankato Loyola could field their own football teams. They didn't have enough kids. So first-year co-op, these kids, grew together, worked together all year, and after they lost the last game of the year, they didn't want it to end. A coach is talking to them, very routine. Then he said, okay, boys, break down one last time. 1, 2, 3 Spartans. And they just stayed together, and all the moms and dads and grandpas and grandmas are waiting 20 yards away for the group to break up. Group didn't break up. They just wanted to be together, and there were tears and there were hugs, and then it did break up, and everybody went to their families, and more tears and hugs. But it just struck me as something that just, it was rare to see that. These guys didn't want their time together, and boys from 2 different schools, not very far apart, but they compete against each other in most sports. But really a neat scene that I'll never forget.
There are sweet stories at every level of sports. I cover mostly pros and a certain amount of college sports. I do Olympics. I do everything else. But you get to a certain level, and it is about career advancement and money and earnings for somebody, even if it's not the athlete in college, the case of college athletes. There's always the motivation that we all recognize. What I love about this show and what I love about high school sports is it doesn't have to be about that. The coach isn't necessarily looking for a bigger gig or a better gig. The athlete isn't necessarily going to go on to the next level. It's about what's happening right now. It's not about money, and you don't have to invent any sweetness. You can find it, and that's what John does a great job of. He drives around the state and finds those stories and writes about them at mshsl.org, and that's why I'm lucky to have him on the network telling these kinds of stories. So thank you to John. Thank you to everybody who listens. Thank you to gourmetparlorpizza.com. Final thought, John.
Jim, I'm grateful as the year ends for the things I get to do and people I get to hang out with and the things I get to write about. It's really, you and I are old sports writers, and we've seen a lot, but it never ceases to amaze me. When I think, okay, all the good stories have been told. There's a million great stories. So I'm very fortunate. I count my blessings every day that I get to do this, and I'm just so grateful, especially for the people I get to run into and chat with. And, a mom and a dad, if I'm 3 hours away, will offer to let me stay at the farm overnight if the weather's bad, and it's just the greatest thing I could imagine doing.
Thanks to John. Thank you to everybody who listens, and we will be talking to you in the new year.